It's the sad reality of the instant gratification culture that we all live in. And I'm just as guilty as everybody else. We want to go to the gym one time and be ripped. We want to eat one broccoli and then be good. It's like we want to do one video and then we did it. No, of course not. That's not how life works. And we know that, but then we just ignore it when some of these things happen to us.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Local Marketing Lab, where you get real-world insights from industry pros to help you drive local revenue and local growth. This podcast is brought to you by Evocalize, digital marketing tools powered by local data that automatically work where and when your locations need it most. Learn more at evocalize.com. Well, what's up, and welcome to the Local Marketing Lab. Joining us in the lab today is a guest with over 20 years of experience in the mortgage space. He's received numerous awards from Scotsman as well as Housing Wire. He's the host of Modern Lending Podcast, as well as the author of Bypassed and the Modern Lending Playbook. Chief Marketing Officer of loanDepot, Alec Hanson. Thanks for joining us in the lab, my friend.
Let's go, man. Yeah, you definitely buttered me up. That was good. That was a lot of nice words. Thank you, dude.
Usually we like to throw he likes long walks on the beach, but I didn't get 100%. That information about you. So yeah. Well, perfect. Well, thanks again for joining us. I think one of the things that was really exciting to get you on the show is just your background, because you've been there and done that as an LO, and you kind of came up, winning. Yeah, obviously you're award winning, in the space in terms of you've hit the President's Club, you've hit the Rookie of the Year awards. So I think you have some really good insight. But before we kind of get into your insights, I'd like to hear a little bit maybe about your background and what your role is over at loanDepot.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So I worked there 13 years, long time. And, absolutely love the team and love the company and love the mission. And for a long time, I was in the sales production leadership side of the house. So I was running the Western United States, our branch network, and, super passionate about our retail channel. That's kind of where I came up, boots on the ground people. And then, I joked that I got asked to be the CMO because I put videos on the internet. But literally, our team kind of grabbed me and said, we'd like you to consider being, our CMO. And I was kind of like, what are you talking about? I'm just a sales guy. But clearly, I have a ton of passion around this space. I wrote a book about it. I started 6 years ago, personally getting really, deep into it. I think sales and marketing and local and digital are all blending in unique ways, and it's becoming a new thing. And so, I always kind of just consider myself more of a practitioner than somebody who is like a guru or went to school or try to figure it out that way. So, I'm just trying to make an impact. And so, I'm really honored to serve in this capacity as CMO right now and help run our brand direction and help support our local pros and our digital pros and all that stuff. So it's a blast.
Yeah, no, it sounds like a ton of fun. It's always good to be part of an organization too that, that welcomes your creativity and allows you, as a marketing professional or as a creative to shine. And you put out a ton of content. And what I love about it is it's branded, but it also is a lot of fun. And it's not just stale corporate branded content, which can happen, especially in the space like the mortgage space, which may not have the most exciting reputation from a marketer's standpoint.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity. The mortgages are boring. I hate to say it, but there's an old joke in our industry, nobody wants a mortgage. And it's true. It's a vehicle. It's a means to an end. It's incredible what it can do, but it's a pain in the butt, to get one and to deal with the paperwork and the process. So I think there's a huge opportunity for education, a huge opportunity to kind of open the doors a little bit wider and let people see what's really going on and humanize the brand too, because it's people here that are making the magic happen. It's not a pure technology line. There's humans here. So trying to showcase all that.
Yeah, for sure. In the mortgage industry, everyone who's listening, LOs out there, they get it. They know that mortgages, people aren't buying one every day. They're not getting one every day. No. So there's a long nurture cycle that you have to take your your sphere through to ensure that, when it comes time for them to make a decision, that you're top of mind. But until then, you have to provide value along the way.
100%.
Yeah. One of the, I caught a video of yours when I was digging in a little bit in your background, and it's the one that you've got on your site, or the What If episode, which I absolutely love because I'm a huge Marvel fan. But the CTA at the end of it was something that stood out to me, because it's something that, if you've ever listened to other episodes of this podcast, like we call out quite often, and it's just, you said specifically, turn on the lights, turn on the camera, and show the world who you are. And a lot of times folks just get in their own way of creating the content, of getting out there, over planning or whatever. Like, they just don't give themselves permission to start producing, but you don't need that.
No. One of my biggest lessons I learned in sales, coming up through this whole world, the pre-digital world, where we had, I had a cell phone, thank you, but it was, it was a Nokia, and it had Snake on it, and I had MapQuest printouts to find out where the open houses were. But like in those early days of originations for me in my career, I knew that in order to have the career I wanted and the impact I wanted, I was going to have to get belly to belly with as many great agents and customers as I could, in order to build relationships where they could have some level of trust in me, that I was a great resource and mortgage provider. And for somebody that has huge call reluctance, massive amounts of insecurity, and is an introvert, that is like a nightmare. It's like the worst situation ever, is like, go walk into open houses cold and meet these people who don't want you to be there because you're not a buyer, and try to say hi and have small talk. Oh my God. So it was a nightmare. But I realized then that in order to get where I wanted to get, I had to put myself in those positions of vulnerability to get rejected, to get people to I had people hold up magazines and instead of to ignore me, straight up, just the worst stuff. I'm like, I guess I'll leave. But through that, after grinding through it, you have these breakthrough moments where, people remember your name and people don't view you as annoying, and you start to build real relationships, and you start to get business, and you fast forward that same experience to the internet today, where it's like, hey, you have a chance to share who you are, call it showcase your brand, but showcase your personality, showcase your expertise, showcase your passion, your knowledge, to countless people as a 24-hour-a-day salesperson for you, because the video is just running all the time. And yes, it's very uncomfortable, and it makes you have to get vulnerable, and God forbid somebody's going to see you there and judge you, which they're going to. But the other side of that is this access and this business growth and this explosive opportunity that just, I'm on a mission more and more to inspire as many people as possible to kind of find that and unleash themselves, because they get access to so much great stuff in their life if they just figure it out.
Yeah, for sure. The vulnerability is very real. And, it's one of those things where you have this level of discomfort, especially in your first video. But then your second video, your second post, your third one, your fourth one, it just gets easier and easier. And before you know it, in reality, if I were to put out a post organically on LinkedIn today, it's going to be seen by 1.5% of my audience. Yeah. So that garbage video that I put out there that maybe I didn't feel so comfortable or confident about, it's not really going to be seen by that many folks in the grand scheme of things. But the practice and the constant release of content is what's going to get in front of folks. And eventually you'll build that momentum. You'll develop followers. You'll stay top of mind. You'll continue to nurture people, and you'll bring in opportunities for yourself.
Dude, it's so well said. It's the same parallel of the first time you meet with somebody to try to get their business or build trust with them, they're not just going to give you a deal. They're not like, oh, thank God you showed up today. It's the 22nd time that you pop in, or that you call them, or that you mail them something. And it's the same truth with video content. It's not one video that maybe you go viral, but nobody really does. It's the 100th video where they're like, oh, I keep seeing this guy or gal pop up, and they're just doing it right, and I like them, and I'm going to call them.
Well, and it gives you the ability to allow that likability to come across.
Yeah.
It's a very human experience to put yourself out there and to showcase yourself on video. And it allows your viewers to connect with you in ways that typically they're not able to if they're just seeing a branded piece of content or a newsletter or whatever it might be. That may be something everybody's doing.
1,000,000%. Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah. It's an incredible tool. And the other piece around social media is it's relatively free. I mean, it costs time.
But it's wild. It's wild how powerful it is for something that's free. I mean, I know you're right. It does cost time.
Yeah.
But we have plenty of that. You have all 24 hours. So, and if I watched you all day, you're probably wasting plenty of it. So
yeah,
it's wild that it's just free, and it just takes effort, and you can scale your business into unbelievable heights and achieve things you never thought possible.
Yeah,
for free.
And it does have a cost. But the cost is also an investment, because the more time you put in, the more traction and momentum you gain. And over time, it's going to come to fruition. A lot of times folks make the mistake of, hey, I'm going to post a couple videos and, oh, nothing happened. And, I don't want to do this anymore. That's the worst thing you could do.
It's the sad reality of the instant gratification culture that we all live in. And I'm just as guilty as everybody else. We want to go to the gym one time and be ripped. We want to eat one broccoli and then be good. It's like we want to do one video and then we did it. No, of course not. That's not how life works. And we know that, but then we just ignore it when some of these things happen to us.
Yeah, 100%. So what are some things that you've seen done well recently? Maybe some tactics that you've seen work?
It's amazing the power of consistency. It's unreal the power of consistency, because where a lot of people will talk about oh, this hook is really catching right now, or this trend is really hot right now, so you should make a quick reel and do this trend. I'm like, that stuff comes and goes. That stuff's here and then gone. But if somebody's willing to show up again and again, the amount of feedback I get from people who are like, Alec, I was nervous about this. I was, as a salesperson, but I leaned into it, and you were right. I stopped getting a ton of engagement, because you get a lot of engagement at the beginning. Everyone's really happy, and then they ignore you. And then, but then all of a sudden, people would come up to him and be like, "Hey, dude, I see you all the time," or "Hey, can you come coach a class with my real estate agents to teach them what you're doing?" Or "Hey," and all this, the consistency wins over time, and just having those experiences over and over again, where someone's like, yeah, this worked, and it just took time, is such a validation for all the times I'm yelling at people to keep going and don't quit and all that stuff. But to kind of complement that, the other area that I just love is when people find their authentic and unique voice more and more. And it doesn't, meaning sometimes it's YouTube or podcasting or reels or long form content or written word or whatever. And as they find it and they kind of get on fire with it, they find their uniqueness and they let it out more. They get so empowered. You can really see it when they're just now becoming who they want to be on these platforms, and they're stopping. So it's because there's a lot of copying happening, which is fair. You see somebody do something, they get a lot of success, and you're like, I'm going to do that too. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but it's like when you find your own style and strategy, you become alive, and people can just see you differently.
Yeah, it just flows. It flows organically. And like you said, people can tell. And they love and appreciate the authenticity that comes through. One of the things that you mentioned, copying others, that kind of sparked a thought in my mind. A lot of times, I think I hear it quite often where people are, and I even actually am guilty of this myself when I started doing the podcast content. It's like, oh, I know I have to do this thing. I see that it's gaining traction with others. It's like, but that's not really me. That's not really my thing. And I found myself just putting up the barrier on my own, preventing myself to do it. But, I've come to find out that not only is it super effective to have something like a podcast, because you could generate tons of content and stay top of mind, but it's a way that it just allows you to get in front of people consistently over a long period of time. Like you're talking about, that consistency then leads to quality. And no longer are you're faking it because you've made it. And if you look at content, probably, I think on LinkedIn specifically, 3% of active LinkedIn users are content creators. The other 97% are just there engaging with other people's content. So if you think about the opportunities, is incredible.
It's wild. And I'll give you my analogy for this, because I've heard this before, which is like, oh, social media is not for me, video is not for me, whatever the excuse is. So here's what's hysterical, right? If you wanted to be really good at basketball, you're like, I want to be really good at basketball. Okay. What you're going to do is you're going to start watching how other people shoot the ball. I mean, you notice how people that shoot basketballs they all look the frickin' same. They're all shooting the ball the same, right? It's one. They're not shooting two hands. It's one hand, guide arm, follow through. Like, it's the same shot. Now I get it. There's slight variations with some people on release strategies and all this stuff, but like, you go to a shooting coach and what do? Here's how you shoot the ball. And so, of course, you're going to copy that. Of course, you're going to emulate. Of course, because that's how the game's played at the highest levels. Yeah. And so, if you're going to be in sales or marketing, and your job is to increase your influence and increase your sales and increase your opportunity in your career, all that stuff, then we're playing the same game, guys. So you don't get to say, "Oh, it's not for me." That's like, it's so ridiculous. It's like somebody saying like, "Oh, I don't meet with clients." Like, what do you mean? It's not for me. It's not my stat. I never talk to clients. You never talk to them. No, it's not for me. Of course you talk to clients. Like, of course you do. What are you talking about? Now, inside how you talk to clients, you're going to incorporate different nuances and strategies, and you're going to bring your personality and you're going to bring yourself. So it's so weird for me that people are like, well, that's not for me. I'm like, no, of course it is. All you're doing is limiting the amount of success you're capable of by putting these fake walls up to say, this is not for me. I'm sorry the world changed. I'm sorry that we're staring at screens all day. It sucks that you got to put out video content now because it's uncomfortable, and you built your career for 20, 30 years. And you went through the uncomfortable. See, this is the other thing. Successful people typically went through the uncomfortable phase of their career. They did it. They grinded it. They earned it. When they had no relationships, they built it. And then they're like, I don't want to do that again. It sucked. It was painful. And then they're like, but now Alec's yelling at me and telling me I have to do all this new stuff that involves things I don't understand and I don't like and I'm not comfortable with. And I'm like, it changed. Yeah. So I'm done with that excuse kind of like, it's not for me. And I'm like, all you're doing is putting limitations on your success. So just call it what it is. You're afraid. You're afraid of the new stuff. And so you don't want to do it. But if you could reframe it a little bit and just say, man, I am afraid and I am uncomfortable. And this is new and it is awkward. And then just go, well, I tackled awkward stuff my whole life. Like, I can handle hard things.
Puberty.
Yeah. You survived that, and it's like, these are the same people though, that are like, that when the iPhone came out, we're like, oh no, what are we going to do? And like, it's terrible. It has no buttons and now they can't live without it.
Yeah.
So, it's the same stuff, man. I just want it more for people because it's opportunity.
Yeah. The crazy part about it too is like the pie that's out there is, it's not finite. It's a massive pie. And in order just to get your slice, you just got to start doing it. If you go back to that 3% piece, it's like, well, let's consider the pie 3% taken. Like, look how much is left for you to get out there, get your content out there before others start doing it. And there's so many tools now that are like AI based that can help you create the content, whether it's video or, you're creating video out of still images or you're creating blog posts, newsletters. It all can be automated fairly quickly.
Yeah, just stop making excuses. If you really want your career to grow, if you really want more sales and more relationships, and that's true, and you're into that, then just stop making excuses and embrace how the world has moved and go after it.
Yeah, go get it. Go get it. Who do you think are some folks that you've seen that are doing it really well?
Well, I mean, like my buddy Neil Dingra is an originator that went all in on social and absolutely changed his life. Like, you just watch and look at his career trajectory and what happened to him. And he just took control and radically changed his life. you've got, this is the other thing that I love about this world is, going back to my basketball analogy, like there's coaches, right? There's great coaches. If you want to be great at basketball, you're probably going to get a coach. And even if you're not willing to invest in coaching for yourself right now, the amount of free opportunity to listen from exceptional people on a regular basis is astronomical. And so like I joke all the time that like I listen to Gary Vee often.
Yeah.
But I started my whole journey 6 years ago in this because I was listening to a podcast where he was saying the same thing he says all the time. Like it's not nothing new. And I was finally like, yeah, why am I not doing this? I totally agree with this. I'm not doing it. It's bizarre. And then like Chris Do is a master marketer. And like I watch him and he's putting out all this content. And I'm just like, God, that's so good. That's so right. Like, like what can I do? So I just think that like, even if you're not looking at these like icons and you want to like zoom down, because even like Neo can feel too far out of reach. Like he's doing too much. He's got all these followers now. It's like, I don't even relate to him anymore, but even just following your friends that are on the same journey or colleagues or frenemies or other people in the industry that are on the same journey and watching what they're doing, the amount of ability to learn and be coached just vicariously is insane.
Yeah.
And so that's what I love about this stuff is, and again, copying, emulating is okay in the sense that like shooting a basketball is okay. Like learning how to shoot by watching Steph Curry is okay. But you're probably gonna have to go put in 10,000 reps to get some level of, your own uniqueness inside it.
Yeah. Yeah. But you never will if you don't try.
If you never plan, if you're never out in the water, you're never going to learn to swim.
Yeah, exactly. So you got to try and you got to try new things. Cause that's the other part too, is like, especially if you're starting, there's so many options, so many things you could do. Just start trying and start gathering data points, do as much as possible, as quickly as possible, accelerate your learnings, and then take those learnings and replicate and go from there. Very cool. So, one of the things that I like, when I'm thinking about the guest, I like to take the things that I come up with and put it into an AI tool. And Alec, you have so much marketing, like so many cool video examples, so many insights. You've got the book, to me, you're a marketing madman. And when I think because you're such a Marvel fan, I wanted to show you off as the Mad Titan Thanos. However,
it's perfect. Josh Brolin, rolling your grave, bro. Just coming at you. That's so classic, dude.
I have
that glove too, so it's perfect.
I saw it on one of your thumbnails. That's why I thought of it. But then
That's right.
I do know that you also are a big Captain America fan, so I wanted to to show you some more love there with it.
Yes, I look very worried looking at Thanos right now. That's all this says is he's about to stomp me.
Very fun. Well, we'll get you over these NFTs that have no value as soon as possible. But before we let you go, how can folks follow you, follow your brand?
Oh, I prepare for this question because this is the normal question that people ask at the end. And I've prepared. And every time anyone asks me this, I have my answer. And the answer is tongue in cheek, but it's designed to hopefully inspire somebody, because the answer to that question should always be Google. It should always be Google. Because here's the deal. When like Anthony Shea, who's the founder of loanDepot and is an icon and someone I look up to immensely, said something very astute a long time ago. And he said, you have to serve customers the way they want to be served. And the second you tell a customer that they have to go down the path that they don't want to go down, because you better have a damn good product or something, because they're just not going to go. They're going to go where they want to go and be served how they want to be served. And isn't that the truth? And so when you talk about how do you contact somebody, how should someone follow you? How should they follow up with you? If you don't give them multiple opportunities or ways to do that, you're alienating the audience. And so for like a salesperson, right? Like, how do I contact you? You should be the first frickin' person on Google. What do you mean? How do I contact you? Any way you want. Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, text, WhatsApp. Like, if I can't find all that on the first page of Google, then all these customers have no chance of finding you at all. So I'm always like that. Google.
Very good point. So you can find Alec on Google. Also, find him on all the socials. Follow him on LinkedIn. Like solid content. I can't say that enough. Check out his Modern Lending podcast. Alec, it was a ton of fun having you in the lab. Thanks for all your great insights for our audience.
Awesome, man. Thank you.
As always, thanks for joining us in the Local Marketing Lab. This podcast is brought to you by Evocalize. To learn how Evocalize can help you grow your business, visit evocalize.com. If you learned something new from today's episode, don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook at Evocalize. That's Evocalize, and on X at Evocalize Inc. And remember, keep innovating and trying new things. You never know what's going to connect with your audience until you try. And until next time, thanks for listening.